Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Midlife Edit. I'm your host, Jen Weinstein, and today I'm going to be talking about cleaning out my closet. Are you cleaning out yours? Is it spring cleaning for you? Are you getting rid of what no longer fits? Not just in your wardrobe, but what about your life? So, the older I've been getting, the more I feel compelled to clean, organize, just get rid of stuff. I don't know. It's almost like I'm nesting. It's like right before you have a baby, you go through this nesting phase and you clean everything real good and everything, all the laundry's done and all the baby clothes are hung up and all that fun stuff. Now, I will tell you, I'm not pregnant. I can't get pregnant and I'll never be pregnant again. But I am doing this version of nesting. And the older I get, I feel like it's more and more where I'm almost purging. I'm getting rid of all of this stuff that no longer fulfills me. I am in the season of life where stuff just isn't it for me. And I was in my closet. I've been on this, spring cleaning kick. And I was in my closet the other day and I'm looking at all of these different clothes. And I'm thinking, well, some of these I haven't worn in years. And who was I when I was wearing this? Why am I holding on to this? Does this specific piece of clothing remind me of someone I don't recognize anymore? I mean, whether it was my clothes pre my weight loss or in a different career that I was in, I don't necessarily dress up for work anymore. So I'm looking at all these clothes and I'm wondering, does this still fit me? And not just necessarily on my body, but does it fit my personality? Does it fit in my life? We can use things like your closet as a mirror, and we can talk about identity and image and even just emotional clutter. So I'm in my closet and I'm looking. And by the way, we have a walk-in closet in our bedroom, but my husband's stuff, he needs to midlife edit his clothing choices because some of it he's had in there since the 90s. I'm not that bad. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, some of these clothes are from like I said another career where I had to dress up, or there were pieces that I saved just in case, whether it was just in case I'm having a bloated day and I want something bigger, or this was a t-shirt from an event that I was at that may have been really meaningful to me at the time. But then I look at some of these clothes and I'm like, was I ever really that person, or was I literally just dressing up to play the part? And there's always emotional layers that we attach to clothing. Sometimes, not always, I'm sorry. But when you look at that piece of clothing and you think, oh, I wore this for so and so's wedding, or this really great event that I spoke at, or like I said, it was a race that you ran with your friends or a concert that you went to. I have so many concert tees that I don't ever want to get rid of, by the way, but I'm looking at all of this stuff and then all of the emotional layers attached to it. Is it guilt? Well, I spent so much money on this. I can't think of getting rid of it because it's just throwing money down the drain. Or that hope of maybe I'll fit into these jeans again someday, or maybe I'll wear this again someday. Or even shame, right? Like you look at a pair of jeans and you're thinking, oh, I used to fit into these. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. Midlife happened, right? But then I started to ask myself some reflective questions like, who was I when I wore this? Did this really fit my personality? Is that still who I am or who I want to be? And what am I trying to hold on to by keeping this, whatever piece of clothing it is? You know, I feel like a personal quip about myself is I don't think I ever really knew who I was. I think I'm starting to learn. But I was always the kind of person who I want to say that I was a leader, but truly deep down, I know that I was somebody who kind of went with the flow, whether it was with a friend group or with in a relationship. I kind of molded myself to kind of fit the narrative of what others around me were doing. And the older I get, And the fact that I am in this amazing, strong relationship where I feel like I can be myself, I'm starting, it's almost freeing. I'm letting myself be who I am. There were parts of myself that I almost hid because it wasn't popular to do at that time, or popular to be, or getting excited about something that other people weren't excited about. I've talked a lot on this podcast, and if you follow me on social, I am a huge Dave Matthews Band fan. I've been since the 90s. The first time I saw him was in July 3rd of 2000. So I've been to numerous concerts. I've always loved him and the band and the vibe. But sometimes I didn't let that true version of myself be shown because maybe I was around a crowd who didn't like his music, or maybe it was just one of those things where people looked at it as almost like a negative that I was a fan of this band. Um, and it's not just that per se, but in careers, or again, like in a relationship, I would almost try to conform to what somebody else liked. And I'll tell you the best part about being in my 40s is I don't give a shit anymore. I like what I like. If you don't like it, that's fine. We're all entitled to our own opinions, and we like things that we like, but it's almost freeing. So when I'm looking at my closet and I'm looking at all of these clothes from whatever time in my life that I've kept, I'm thinking, okay, was that really truly me when I wore this specific dress or this shirt or this sweatshirt, or was this somebody that I was trying to be? And so going through those clothes was really freeing for me, and thinking, okay, like I don't have to keep this because it no longer fits me, whether it's physically or a metaphor in my life. It was just a very eye-opening experience. Again, the older I get, the more I value looking at who I am and who I want to be and who I want to portray myself as. And so if we're talking about clothes and things that don't fit us, or why are we holding on to it again? I think I don't have anything anymore, but I think for a very long time I kept things where I was like, oh, I'll fit into those again someday. And then I lost weight. And when I was able to fit into the things that I thought I would like, they didn't fit me right. They didn't look right on me. It wasn't who I was anymore. So if that's happening with clothes, what else no longer fits us? We are in this transition of life, this season of life, whatever you want to call it, where we're trying to think of who we are now without being a specific term. Like, okay, I'm not just a mom. I'm a this. I'm not just an employee. I'm not just a wife. Who are you when no one else needs anything from you? Right? So let's talk about what no longer fits us, and let's break it down into 4 different categories. The first of the 4 categories is your mindset, right? So where are you in your mindset, or where are you in your life? Think about that. If your mindset is I have to be everything to everyone, okay, let's work through that. Do you? And look, I am saying this right now while also being that person where I'm like, okay, I've got to be there for people. I've got to be the mom and the wife and the employee and the friend and the sister, and I've got to be everything for everybody. But what about me? How do I fit into that? So am I trying to change that mindset? Maybe. I still want to be there for everyone. I want to be the best version of me so that I can give that to everybody. But how do I work on being the best version of me so that everybody else that depends on me can see that, but I'm not losing myself? What about, I talked about hustle culture before, and I do. Look, I like hustle culture. I'm in the thick of it sometimes, and I like to be that employee or that person where somebody sees me hustling, and I get that pat on the back. And sometimes I think, well, if I slow down, I'm failing. Tell you, therapy has taught me that that's not true. Sometimes if I slow down and I feel like, oh my gosh, I should be doing something, I need to take a deep breath and think, it's okay. It's okay to take an hour for myself and not do anything because I need to fill my cup back up so that I can give to others. What about reinvention? Is your mindset thinking, oh, it's too late to reinvent myself? No. Listen, you're not behind. You may be distracted, but you're not behind and you're not stuck. You're not stuck in this person of the personality that you have, or thinking that you have to be everything for everybody. You're just scared. You're scared not to be the person that you want to be, because what if they don't need you anymore? That's a scary thought, right? Especially as a mom. I mean, of course, our kids are always going to need us. I still need my mom at 41. Um, but they don't need the everyday taking care of them 24/7 anymore. So you're scared. You're scared that you don't know who you're going to be without being that person. And guess what? This is just the beginning. It's not too late to reinvent yourself. So, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And then ask yourself, what beliefs are too tight or outdated or just uncomfortable now? I mean, again, I gave that real honest confession that I never kind of knew who I was. And now I'm finding it out. And now I'm falling in love with myself all over again. And so what beliefs did I have that I no longer believe, or things that I've held on to that are just outdated, whether it be clothes or thoughts. Um, what's uncomfortable now? Sometimes it's good to sit in your uncomfortability, right? I mean, that's one of the things that my therapist has helped me do is sit in my shit and think about, not necessarily the past, but think about how I want to be the best version of myself and deal with things that happened in the past and then let it go. So that's the first category of what no longer fits, right? What about relationships? So, I've talked a lot about my relationship with my husband and how, I found him in midlife, because midlife can be anywhere from 35 to 40 to 45, right? I waited a very long time to find the person that I'm supposed to be with. So I've had some bad relationships, right? And I've let go of them, obviously, but is there that one relationship that's stuck in your head that you're thinking about that you just don't know how to let go of? What about friends? You know, Friends are a tough situation for me, because there are friends where I've had them forever and they still are very close friends of mine, and I will be there for them no matter what happens in their life. But what about friends who drain you or don't share your values anymore? Again, I was that person who kind of went with the crowd. As much as it makes me almost cringe to say it, because I thought I was the strong leader, but for a long time I just kind of went with the crowd, and I formed my opinions from others. And now that I have my own opinions and my own values and my own beliefs and my own thoughts, do the friends that I have fit those values? Does that mean that I have to hate them? No. But is it okay to say goodbye to relationships, friendships that no longer fit what I'm looking for? Sure. A friend breakup, I think, sometimes can be harder than a romantic breakup, but sometimes it's necessary, right? Do you have one-sided connections where it's always that friend who's calling you because they're going through a hard time and they never ask you how you feel? They never ask you what's going on in your life. If somebody else, from the outside looking in, asked them about you, would they know anything about you or what was going on? It's okay to let those go too. There's this myth that you have to keep people in your life just because of history, whether it's family, friends, relationships. If it doesn't serve you anymore, it's okay to get rid of it. you know? Slowly let it go. Move on. Just know in your heart of hearts that, yeah, at one point in your life, that was good for you, or maybe it wasn't, but it's okay to say goodbye to that, person or that family member, that relationship. When you do this inventory, this self-reflection of these relationships in your life, ask yourself, if this was a piece of clothing, would I buy it again today? If you met this person at a coffee shop or in the grocery store, do you think you'd be friends with them at this point in your life? What about your relationships? Friendships, family members, all of it. Ask yourself, would I do this over again? The fourth category are our habits and routines. As we grow up and grow older, our habits and routines change, right? So, are you a yes man, woman? I am, especially when it comes to work. I'm always going to say yes to something, even if I don't have time for it or I have a hard time saying no. And it's me admitting, I don't know if it's necessarily a flaw, but I do have a hard time saying no. And I want to overcommit to take care of all of these things and to be there for people. Is that a routine or a habit that you have? What about avoiding rest? That's me too. And sometimes it'll get to the point where, especially with the gym, I love to work out, sometimes I don't listen to my body. And then when it becomes to the point where I'm just completely exhausted, it's almost like I shut down and have to take a few days off. And then I feel like I have to start all over again. So avoiding rest is something that I'm going to work on not doing, because we all need rest every once in a while, right? What about having fun? We watched last night with my two youngest stepkids are, one will be 12 and then 13. And when we have family movie nights, sometimes I like to watch movies from my childhood or, the classics. And last night we watched the movie Big. And I looked at my husband and I said, this is so funny that we're doing this now, almost serendipitous, because I'm going to talk about, this whole thing on my podcast today. But am I avoiding joy? Now, look, I like to have fun, right? And I will do things that allow me to have the fun that I want to have. But then I'm watching this movie and Tom Hanks has all these toys in his apartment and they get on the trampoline and they just have genuine fun. And it's like, when's the last time that you did something that you did as a kid that was just so fun? Why are we not doing those things? What are we worried about? Other people's opinions? Well, if I'm being honest, the opinion that I would have is, damn, I'm so jealous of you that you're okay with going and having that fun. And maybe we just start having more fun in our lives. Maybe we go to the amusement park or to the trampoline park with our kids. Or how about we do it without our kids and just have adult fun that we had in childhood? What about coping mechanisms, right? Do you use food or alcohol or even social media as a coping mechanism? I use social media as a form of avoidance. I'll be completely honest with you. If I'm supposed to be doing something for work or podcast, or sometimes I just want to take some time to get out my little journal and either write in my journal or try to organize my life or start a new workout plan for myself or a food menu for the week. And I'll pick up my phone and instead of doing something productive, I'm on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. I use it as a form of avoidance like nobody's business. And then, it's so easy to do that you don't realize, but 20, 30, 40 minutes have gone by, and what have you done? Look, the ADHD in me has saved so many things from Instagram and TikTok. Like, if you look at my saves on TikTok, you would just laugh because you're like sitting there and you're saying, oh, this is such a great idea and I really want to do this. So you save it, but do you actually look at it? Or my screenshots on my phone? I have so many screenshots of different things that I want to do. that once I screenshot it, obviously it's out of my brain because it's that quick dopamine hit, right? So are you using social media as a coping mechanism or a form of avoidance? Or what about food or alcohol? Look, I've done all three. I have used all three of those at some point in my life as a coping mechanism, whether it was alcohol to avoid feelings, or sometimes alcohol was my form of being social. The more I drank, the more I talked, right? Food. I mean, there's times where I've had tough days, or, we as a culture use food in two different ways when it comes to, I guess, a coping mechanism, right? We either had a tough day and we want that comfort food, a tub of ice cream or multiple slices of pizza or whatever your comfort food is. Sometimes we use that as a coping mechanism, but we also use food as reward and celebration, right? Oh, if you eat everything on your plate, you get that dessert. Or, oh, if you do really good in the baseball game, we're going to take you out for Dairy Queen. Think about that. We do use that a lot as some kind of coping mechanism or reward. So is this habit that we're talking about, is the avoiding rest or overcommitting or using food or alcohol or social media as coping mechanisms, is that habit adding value, or is it taking space from something better? For me, it's taking space for something better, right? If I drink the next day, it doesn't matter how much you drink. I could drink one drink or 15 the next day, still feel like shit. So what's that taking away from me? Well, my day the next day, being productive and present and not feeling down on myself. Food, look, I am all for eating what you like in moderation. Sometimes I need to take my own advice, because if I don't eat in moderation and I eat 4 slices of pizza and 2 breadsticks, how's my body going to feel? And if my body feels like shit, then my mind feels like shit. And it's just this vicious cycle. Social media. It's so easy to compare yourself to people on social media, but be honest, when you post on social media, it's always the good part of it, right? It's always happiness and filters and just this quick overview of your life, but you don't really see what's going on in these other people's lives unless it's the good things. So are we comparing ourselves to people and getting down on ourselves when we're looking at social media? Is that habit really taking space from something better? And the fourth one is roles or responsibilities. So again, being the default yes person, you're always saying yes to if somebody needs your help. You don't know how to put up that boundary by saying no. I am that person. And I'm that person that not only do I say yes, but then I find something else that I can do for whoever it is, boss, parent, husband, whatever, just to add that extra value to make myself look even better, like I'm helping even more. But what is that taking from me then? Or when your kids are grown, and you feel like who am I going to take care of now? Do you default that to your partner, to your parents? Or should we be taking care of ourselves? Or what if you're staying in a job that fits your old self and not your current purpose? I've done this, right? I have stayed in a job where I loved the people and I loved the idea of the job, but I wasn't awesome at it. So instead of diving deep into, okay, how can I make this fit my lifestyle? I either quit and started back at, honestly, the restaurant business, because I knew I was good at that. Like, that's something that I know I'll always be good at. However, I don't love it. So why do something that I don't love? And, a few months ago, I really got back into the real estate world and what I was good at doing. Selling, being a real estate agent I was okay at it, but it didn't fuel me. It wasn't my passion. I love to help people, so I pivoted a little bit and found something that fit what I was good at and what I liked doing. And this is this podcast, this platform, being a coach for women in midlife has given me such a sense of fulfillment and something that I love doing. So this is something that I'm always going to do. So are you showing up in roles you didn't consistently choose or you no longer want? I know, especially now in 2025, it's a scary time financially for a lot of people. So it's easier said than done, right? You hate your job, but you can't just up and quit it because then what are you going to do for income? Or, it's really hard for you. You can't just stop saying yes. It's going to be that process for you. But what if you make a plan for yourself? What does that look like in 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years? Could you create that life that you've always wanted? Sure. But it's scary as hell, isn't it? You haven't missed your moment. You just aren't putting your mindset and thoughts into that moment. So, again, you're not stuck. You're just scared. Get over the scaredness. Start little. Start small and grow on whatever it is. So let's talk about letting go. Let's talk about letting go of the clothes that don't fit you anymore or don't fit your lifestyle or the job or that relationship or whatever it is. Let's talk about it. There's a couple steps to letting go, right? I'd say about 4. We have to acknowledge that step number 1 for me is acknowledging that emotional tie. So if it's that dress that I wore to this special event, but it doesn't fit me anymore, but that's still, that emotional tie, or, that wedding, or honestly, that funeral. My dad has passed. It'll be 20 years this summer. And there are certain things that I've held on to that I don't need to hold on to, but it's just that emotional tie. It's almost like if I'm getting rid of this piece of clothing or this pamphlet or whatever, does that mean I don't care? And that's how my mind works. But the version of me got me here, and that deserves gratitude and not guilt, right? So if I get rid of it, I'm happy. I'm happy that it happened. I'm happy that, even if it was a bad time, everything in my life up to this point has got me to where I am today. So that deserves gratitude. Let go of that guilt. So step 2 would be evaluate objectively. Would I choose this today? If the answer is no, then get rid of it. Clothes, go shopping in your own closet. And before you go to Target or on Amazon or one of your favorite stores for clothes, go shopping in your own closet. Maybe you can put outfits together that you love. Maybe there's some staples in there that you forgot about. But if you pull something out of your closet and you look at it and you say, would I choose this today? Let it go. Same with friendships and relationships and jobs and whatever else it is. Look at yourself and say, is this something that if I had to start over, would I do that today? So step 3 is to make room. Let go, not just to declutter, but to create your own new space. Create a space for peace, connection, health, creativity, whatever it is. When we're getting rid of something, we're making room for something else, whether it's just nothing and you like to look at this new clean organized space, or if it's to bring something new into your life, a new hobby, a new friend, a new relationship. Let go, not to just declutter it, but create that space that you want. And then step 4, let's practice non-attachment. It's not a failure to grow out of something. It's growth, right? It's moving on from something that you may have once loved, but it doesn't fit in your life anymore, and that's okay. Just because it once fit doesn't mean it still serves you. So let's talk about this closet clean out mindset shift. And again, midlife is not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. I am so thankful for all the women out there who are being vulnerable and putting themselves on social media, because when I do get stuck on social media, my algorithm is mostly perimenopausal and menopausal women. So whether it's to laugh or to cry or to be like, yes, that's me too, there's a lot of women out there now, and I'm hoping that's most of you listening, that you're looking at midlife as not a crisis or a breakdown, but it's my time to shine. So if you're listening to all this and you're thinking, man, I really need to clean out my closet, whether it's figuratively or metaphorically, start small. Clear one shelf. Get rid of one thing. Say no to something. Have one honest conversation with yourself or with another person. This is so powerful. This is edit, right? This is editing our lives. This is our midlife edit. It's not a loss. It's just reclaiming space and a sense of self and loving ourselves. So why don't you clean out your closet this week? Start small. Get rid of that dress that doesn't fit you anymore. Or get rid of that habit, like scrolling on social media, reaching for that glass of wine at night. We can do this together. So how about you work on a journal prompt this week? What part of your life feels like it no longer fits? And what do you want to make space for? Why don't you start there? Look, I love this podcast so much. And if one person listens to it or a million people listen to it, whatever the case may be, this is for me. And this is me editing my life and cleaning out my closet. And I appreciate all of you out there. I know it's been a few weeks of solo episodes. Next week, I am going to have a special guest on, and we're going to talk about careers and becoming the midlife woman you always wanted to be. But I would also like to ask for your help. We're going to get back to, after next week's episode, I'm going to get back to talking about strength training, because I think that it's really important and we really need to continue to talk about it. We're going to talk about nutrition more and just being healthy in midlife. But what are topics that you want to talk about? What do you want to hear about? What kind of experts would you like me to have on? I'm going to put my email address in the show notes, but you can always find me on Instagram at the Jen Weinstein. Same with TikTok. You can join the Midlife Gains group on Facebook. But I want to hear from you. Tell me some ideas. Tell me some things that you're struggling with in midlife right now that you could listen to an expert on, or you just need a friend to get through. And let's work on it together. If you feel like this is a cool place to listen to things, and maybe you just need to talk about it, you don't want to start your own podcast, but you want to talk about something you're going through with midlife, shoot me a message. Let's have you on. Let's have a conversation with the world about what you're going through. I know that sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? But if you just need to vent or ask questions or want to have a conversation and you want to be a guest on my podcast, I welcome you, because we're all in this together. And I am so grateful again for all of you out there listening, whether you are 25 or 75, man, woman, whatever you are, and you're listening and you're getting something out of this. Thank you. I appreciate you. And again, if this resonated with you, please subscribe. If you think that somebody else in your life would really benefit from this podcast, please share it with them, because this is a space for all of us. And I really, truly want to help other women in midlife kind of get through the hurdles that they're going through. So, until next week, this is the Midlife Edit. Let's make it a damn good chapter. We'll see you later.